Okay, we're going to look at putting in some CSS to go with this HTML linking project. So first off, I have to make an external CSS because that's what I want you guys to do, is to make an external one. So I'm going to go into File, New, and as you saw in a previous video in week 1, whenever we're making new files, we want to save them right away so that we can have color coding and code hinting inside of brackets. So I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to call this styles.css, and then click Save. Okay, so that gives me my two files that I need, my movies.html and my CSS. Now there's this cool little trick in brackets that you can go in and split the screen. You can split it horizontally or you can split it vertically. What's nice about that is you can have my file with the correct code in one screen, and you can have your file in the second split screen, and you can compare the two. So let's say that you are doing one of the menus, like what we did on Tuesday. You could have my file in one side, and then if you have problems or if things aren't working right in yours, you can actually have them side by side and take a look at them. So I'm going to do a horizontal split, and then I can see here's my top, here's my bottom, so this is the top and this is the bottom. I'm going to move my CSS styles to the bottom by clicking on it, holding and dragging until my bottom word pops up. So now you can see that I have the HTML page on the top and my CSS is on the bottom. So the first thing I want to do is go into my HTML, and I want to link my HTML to my CSS. So if you don't want to have this split screen going, you can pause the video or you can jump to your HTML page real quick. But I'm going to put my cursor after the second meta name viewport, hit return, and open caret. You know we need the word link and then a space when it comes to linking our style sheet. And then we're going to do an href, and we're going to scroll down to our actual CSS page. Space type is text CSS, and then our rel is style sheet. Oop. There it is. And then go ahead and close that and save. Okay, now I'm going to click down here in my CSS, and I'm going to first call up my body tag, open close curly brace, hit return. So in the page itself, we're going to take a look real quick. The page itself has a margin, and that's built into the browsers. And I believe that the default size is about 10 pixels. That might be different depending on which device and which browser you're using, but it's pretty much the same or around the same. So we've got a little bit of space, and this 10 pixels of space is on the top, bottom, which if I scroll down you can see there's 10 pixels on the bottom, left and right. Now the reason why we have that is because way back when we started making HTML pages, we didn't want our content right up against the edge of the page. But as designers came into the mix, we would create images and whatnot that we would want to go all the way to the edge so that we can control all the padding and everything ourselves. So we can use CSS to take all of that information off. But because this isn't a full-blown website, this is just a couple pages that we're using to practice, I'm going to go ahead and put a margin in that's a little bit bigger. So I'm going to say margin 20 pixels. Oops. Let's save that. And now you can see that that's a little bit of a bigger space. If you want to go even bigger, you can. It's up to you. It's just, like I said, it's just a bit of margin, a bit of spacing that goes on there. Most of the time you're going to reset this to 0. So you're going to do margin 0 because you're going to control the padding or the margin yourself with other elements. You don't necessarily do it here in the body tag, but you might. It's kind of up to you and how the design is. All right, so after the margin, I'm going to put in a background color. And you can decide what color you want to use yourself. You can go into the hexadecimal links from D2L, or you can do a Google search on hexadecimal colors for HTML, and you can come up with a color yourself. It's kind of up to you. I'm just going to use this antique white here, and I'm going to save that. And now I have a background color in there. Now, because I'm linked to brackets, this is my Lightning preview in brackets, this blue bar is brackets' way of letting me know what I'm highlighted on inside the CSS or HTML. And it's nice for when we're kind of troubleshooting or debugging our projects. But if you're just kind of viewing what it looks like, it might be annoying, or you might be like, what is that? But the blue is just brackets' way of letting you know where you are in your code. So you can ignore that. All right, I'm going to drop down a line, and I want default font. So I'm going to do font family. Oops, not font display. We've only learned font size and font family so far. We're going to be learning more elements for our fonts, and then we're going to be learning some shorthand for things like fonts and margins and borders and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm going to type in Arial or comma space sans serif. And then don't forget the semicolon at the end. Even though that might be the last one in your list, you might need to add something later. And then if you don't have that closed, you might forget to close it. So just make sure you close it right away. Now I'm going to add, oh wait, do I want to add anything more for my body? I'm going to save that. And I don't think I need to just yet. There might be something that I want to add later, but notice how all my fonts are different. I don't know why I had 2 lines for movies for September. That was just a glitch in going from brackets to the browser. So I just hit refresh and it fixed it. Sometimes you have to refresh the browser. Sometimes you have to close it out and relink it or return it on the live preview through brackets. And sometimes you have to get out of brackets altogether. It just depends on how long you've been working and how much memory you have on your computer and that sort of thing. Okay, if you want to test the links, again, you can. It's up to you. So I want to go back in. I want to change the size of my my posters, okay? So I'm going to show you a little trick in CSS. I'm going to put my cursor after the closed curly brace, and I'm going to hit return. And I'm going to do img for image space. Then I'm going to do an open curly brace and hit return. So let's say I want to change the width of my images. So I'm going to do width, and I believe the default width is 300 pixels. That's what it was designed for. So what if we did a width of 200 pixels and see what happens with our movie posters. So our movie posters are much smaller, but notice how the movie poster, just by putting in a width, the browser automatically constrains the proportions, which means that the height changes even though I only put a number in for my width. And that's really nice because now I know that all my images are not going to be distorted. They're not going to be squished or pulled or anything like that. However, by putting in this information for every single image that's in every single HTML page that this CSS is attached to will also be changed to a width of 200 pixels. And that's not going to be good. I don't want every single page of the website to have a width of 200 pixels. So what I need to do, I need to do something special. I can either call up my table data tag in front of the image tag. So now it's going to be applied to every image that's in a table data tag. And that would actually work. This would work for me because it won't be applied to every single image in my entire document, because no other image is going to be inside a table unless you decide to put a table on one of the other pages. But you don't need to be using tables. If you want to practice with tables, that's fine. But the problem would be then you couldn't use this technique. So let's say you do. Let's say you want to use tables to organize your pages on the rest of the website, on the index page or the contact us page or whatever. So I'm going to delete my table data in front of my image. Instead, I'm going to go into my HTML for the movies, and for the images, let's go down to B is where the first image starts. And I have, here's my image, it's on 47, and I have my source, and I have my alt tag. Well, after my alt tag, the quote for my alt tag, I'm going to do a space. I'm going to put in a class name. And I'm going to do class equals quote movie. End quote. So this means that this particular image has something added to it. It's going to have a class called movie. Now we haven't made it yet, but I'm just going to put that on there. And I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And I'm going to paste it for every image on this page. Now right now, I only have 2 images because I've only gone to the letter D. So I don't have anything added after that. But otherwise I would go through and add this to every single one. So in my CSS, I'm going to save that. In my CSS, I can either leave this image and add to it the dot for class movie, save it that way, or I could take the image part off and just have dot movie. That would work too. It's not as specific in my CSS, but I doubt I'm going to use the class of movie anywhere else. But right now, I'll just leave it as IMG just to be more specific with my CSS and my tags. So now I have a specific width in for every, well, I would have to add that class of movie to every single tag. But this is nice because now I can use my tables for the other pages if I want to organize it that way. And I can put whatever image I want to inside those tables and not have to worry about the fact that I put this width on the images tag. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop there for this particular part of the project. If you have any questions, let me know. Don't hesitate to email me or text me because I can help out with if you're having any issues.